On Thursday, the 7th of April 2022, an American investment group named Wagmi United purchased Crawley Town Football Club. Wagmi, which stands for We Are All Going to Make It, was created by former professional gambler Preston Johnson and financier Eben Smith, and includes over 25 investors from across the globe from the world of Web3 to influencers and lawyers. They plan to build the Internet's team, a team anyone in the world can cheer for, as long as they have an internet connection. Utilizing their knowledge of Web3, sports statistics, cryptocurrency and NFTs, they plan to push Crawley from a comfortable League 2 team and take them all the way to the Premier League. They will also be selling NFTs and other merchandise to help the club compete financially with the biggest clubs in the division. Crawley Town announced that 10 key players of the first-team squad have signed contract extensions to ensure they remain at the Broadfield Stadium for next season, with club legend Glenn Morris and experienced veteran Tony Craig signing 2-year contracts. After 2 wins out of 2 for Crawley Town since Wagmi took over the club, the fans have a lot of questions about the club's new owners. Club director, Preston Johnson, sat down to answer some of the fans' questions.
Why Crawley? Out of all the clubs that you could have possibly got, why have you chosen this club?
Sure. So, we chose Crawley Town because we believe the club has a ton of untapped potential that just hasn't been realized yet using the conventional ownership model. And we think we can take it to the next level. It's important, though, for us that Crawley Town is a community club, and we're committed to that. We want to keep it a community club. I know we've had plenty of questions about the details. Eben and I were the new co-directors for Crawley Town FC, right? But we represent the Wagmi United ownership group. And one thing that we've seen so frequently in sport as a whole is a lack of accountability from owners. James Dolan's the owner for the Knicks. He's been the owner running the franchise into mediocrity for 30 years running. But he's a rich owner. He gets to be the owner of the Knicks if he wants to. There's no accountability. It's the scapegoat. It ends up being the head coach or the manager, the general manager. They throw everyone else under the bus. So what's interesting is, so then you have like acquisitions like this, which you guys see in the EFL, and everyone's allowed to say, hey, we're going to get promoted in a few years, or we're going to reach championship in 5 years. There's no downside or accountability to that. And that's kind of BS to us. So if we're going to say, hey, we want to be promoted in 2 years, we think that, it's important that we're accountable to you guys, to the supporters. And so that is the case. And so now alluding to, I guess, the specifics of your question. Yeah, if we're not promoted to League One after our second season, then we think it should be up to the community and the supporters whether or not we stay in as our role as directors. We're bringing a professional football club, Crawley Town FC, to people who already love NFTs, to NFT fans. And they build these passionate digital communities. We have a real professional football club now that we can build and have a rallying NFT digital audience that's just going to give us, we hope and expect, an outsized advantage relative to, the pre-existing revenue stream. So if we're able to capture that, and we get this passionate digital community on board, they're going to be able to build and help this grow. And so that's the key. That I think the difference between some of those bigger, the Yems Gems are going to be great. So looking forward to hearing more of those. I think the thing that stood out the most about John to us is the fact that he's consistently outperformed expectations relative to the club's wage bill, with one of the lower wage bills in the league. Crawley Town's finishing middle of the table. And so that ultimately means one of
deeply disturbing allegations, and they centre on John Yems, the manager here, one of the most outspoken characters in lower league football in this country, who has now been suspended by Crawley Town Football Club, suspended 11 days ago based on what the owners of this club, new American investors, said were serious and credible allegations. Now, the details of those allegations have now come to light. 7 players have gone to the Professional Footballers Association to register complaints about alleged racist behaviour from John Yems. And those include deeply offensive and racist names being used to players from ethnically diverse backgrounds, and also this notion of segregation, asking white players.
John Yems is no longer the manager of Crawley Town Football Club. They have released a statement on their website saying that they have mutually agreed to part ways with John Yems. Effective immediately, they'll begin their global search for their next manager immediately. Assistant manager Lewis Young will continue to serve as interim manager for the remainder of the current season. This comes a day after a former Crawley player claimed to Sky that the club's changing room was segregated on racial grounds, with players from ethnic minorities made to change away from their white teammates. And the day before that, 7 Crawley players came forward with allegations against John Yems using discriminatory language and behaviour against his own players. He was suspended for what Crawley called serious and credible complaints. He has now gone. So John Yems is no longer the manager of Crawley Town Football Club.
The club ended the season losing 3 of their last 4 games of the season under interim manager and fan cult hero Lewis Young, finishing a respectable 12th place in League Two. Fans were starting to get excited about what the new owners and season could bring. With Eben Smith now able to join co-chairman Preston Johnson in the UK, they set up a fans forum with Crawley Town supporters.
I'd like to ask you why you bought Crawley Town. After all, we have a very few assets. We are one of the less fashionable teams in the league and have one of the smallest fan bases. We don't even own our own ground. I think I speak for a lot of supporters when I say, up to 2 weeks ago, we didn't even know who you were. So my question is, what do you hope to get out of this? And more importantly, what do you intend for the club, to do for the club? In closing, the other thing that's bothering me is that last year you tried to buy Bradford City, which is a much bigger club than ours. But according to the Bradford, the offer was rejected for many reasons, which must remain private. Thank you very much.
Eben's not ready to answer that one yet, apparently. I think he wants to make a lot of what happened there pretty public. But to start with the first part, and I appreciate the thoughtful questions. Yeah.
2 years, the fans might have a chance to vote you out if we're not happy. I just want to know, is that another member of Wagmi United, or would that be you're looking to sell? Just the long-term future of the club, like how healthy is it going to be?
Joe, we're kind of winging this, so we don't have that totally solved. Luckily, it's 2 years away. I'll tell you what the intent is. The intent is that we want to build an actual community club, which means that if you don't perform, you don't stay. And so that's not just going to go for us. We want that to be the ethos of the club. We want this to be performance-based. I think it's important that to know somebody else might come in and say, we need this to be a 4-year plan. If you guys want that, that's great. It really shouldn't be up to us. We think we have an idea that if we execute it right, it gives us a pretty good shot at having this happen in the next 2 years, and that's what we're really excited about. In terms of who that's going to be, there's a lot. Effectively, you can measure each player versus how much you spend on them, right? I mean, that's what this whole game comes down to. We just need to do that better than other teams in the league. So we get 2 windows a season to do that. And so step 1 is get as much brain power as possible into the room, as much as we can afford, make sure it makes sense with the way that the manager wants to play, then reevaluate in the transfer window in the winter, reevaluate again next summer. There's literally not much else we can do besides that.
Crawley Town appoint Kevin Betsy as the new first-team manager of the club. Betsy joined on a 2-year contract, having spent the previous season with Arsenal, where he managed the under-23s side. The highly rated coach spent 5 successful years in the England youth setup before joining the Gunners in the summer of 2021. Betsy is known for playing a high-press, possession-based game that requires quick technical players. Crawley fans have seen this style of play try to be implemented previously with poor returns. Can Wagmi and Betsy shake up League Two with a football revolution? We will find out soon enough. The transfer window for the 2022-2023 season had opened and Crawley have wasted no time, making a raft of signings, including League Two's top goalscorer last season, Dom Telford, on a free transfer. And also signing highly rated England youth international, James Balagizi. In even more exciting news, Wagmi United announced they have agreed with Adidas to become the club's official kit manufacturer and apparel partner. With pre-season and the transfer window in full swing, Crawley announced that the club's legendary goalkeeper and multiplayer of the season winner, Glenn Morris, would be leaving the club on loan for the season, only weeks after signing a new 2-year contract. With the addition of highly rated goalkeeper Ellery Balcombe among even more incomings, it looks as if the football revolution will have some casualties.
Crawley Town Red Devil here. Today we're talking about Crawley United FC. Why do we hate them? Oh, first of all, their nickname is the Cum Brains. You're not going to win a whole lot of soccer matches if your brains are made out of cum. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the Cum Bryans. So a Cum Bryan is someone who comes from the English county of Cumbria. Boring. If I'm going to root for a Cum Bryan, it better be some hot Australian guy named Brian who eats a lot of pineapple.
After one win in 6 games, Crawley have the welcome distraction of a glamour tie with Premier League Fulham in the League Cup. Attending the game will be one of Wagmi's ownership group, social media influencer, Hunter Oral. Hunter is creating social media content around Wagmi's purchase of the club and what it is like to be a football club owner. Crawley beat a weakened Fulham team 2-0, with goals from club talisman Tom Nichols and James Balagizi. But not everyone is happy with what has happened at the game, with TalkSport reporting that the EFL have charged Crawley for the pitch invasion. And co-host Simon Jordan has taken issue with Hunter Oral's behaviour in particular.
And, you know, I can't do what I want, you can't do what you want, I don't understand it. And then what you see in this situation, if I'm not getting ahead of myself, is one of the bloody owners has gone on the pitch.
Well, I mean, this is it. Crawley Stadium announcer urged fans not to go on the pitch at full time. So they've beaten Fulham. Fulham are out of the Carabao Cup. Crawley have done what was deemed to be impossible. They put Fulham out. Great. Well done, Crawley. But the warnings were ignored. Some home fans even posed for photographs with, wait for it, one of the club's owners, Hunter Oral, who then posted them on his Instagram.
I mean, this to me, it beggars belief. I mean, I've seen these guys. They look like refugees from Middle-earth, the guys that own Crawley Town right now, American Druids, by what I could see, but notwithstanding that.
Crawley announced they have appointed Chris Galley as Director of Football and Interim CEO. Galley served as Head of Pro Services for StatsBomb, the leading football analytics firm previously. The transfer window closes with more ins and outs for Crawley. The club have signed more than 25 players in the window and will have one of the largest squads in the league. But fans are becoming disgruntled by poor performances on the pitch and the sale of club legends off it, with the news that last season's top goal scorer, Kwesi Opia, will also be leaving the club, again after signing a new contract, only weeks before.